Trump, the truth teller. That's the focus of tonight's angle. Now, I'm sure it was just a bizarre coincidence. So when Donald Trump arrives at the UN today before his big speech, stuff mysteriously just stopped working, including the teleprompter and the escalator. Of course, among such a humorless bunch as the UN crowd, President Trump was not about to let a laugh line slip by.
All I got from the United Nations was an escalator that on the way up stopped right in the middle. If the First Lady wasn't in great shape, she would have fallen. But she's in great shape. We're both in good shape. We both stood. And then a teleprompter that didn't work. These are the two things I got from the United Nations, a bad escalator and a bad teleprompter. Thank you very much.
Now, when the UN General Assembly meets, we usually hear speeches filled with tedious cliches and meaningless niceties. Things like, we must preserve and strengthen the global community, or we must confront the challenge of climate change, or we must resist the impulse of isolationism and protectionism. You've heard it all before. But Donald Trump actually came to the UN to deliver a message. Wake up, start living in the real world, or lose everything. Because in the real world, oil and gas rule. Nuclear energy is clean and safe. And solar and wind are ugly stepchildren in the energy family.
If you don't get away from this green scam, your country is going to fail. And I'm really good at predicting things. I've been right about everything. And I'm telling you that if you don't get away from the green energy scam, your country is going to fail. At extreme cost and expense, Europe reduced its own carbon footprint by 37%. Think of that. Congratulations, Europe. Great job. You cost yourself a lot of jobs, a lot of factories closed, but you reduced the carbon footprint.
Yeah, well, it may be a little braggadocious of him today, but it also happens to be pretty accurate. As Europe clings to failed socialist and progressive policies, Trump's been right about issues across the board. He said he'd get NATO countries to pay more for their own defense, and he has. He vowed to fight relentless lawfare back at home and win, and he did. He said you don't need Congress to close the border, and he did it without Congress. He said imposing tariffs would bring nations to the table and money into our treasury, and they did. Those are just a few. I could go on all night. It would be actually kind of fun to do that. Look, our allies may not want to hear it, but in their hearts, they know that they invited waves of Islamic refugees into their countries, and it's had a profoundly negative effect. And Trump got into all of this today. On that issue, Trump and Republicans are extremely popular in the United States. And of course, today, Trump didn't mince words.
The number one political issue of our time, the crisis of uncontrolled migration. Your countries are being ruined. The United Nations is funding an assault on Western countries and their borders. It's time to end the failed experiment of open borders.
Of course, an anti-immigration political movement is sweeping through Europe now, from Sweden to the UK to Germany. More politicians than ever are saying enough. We've had enough. So is it too late? Trump said no, not if you get serious really fast. But most of all today, I think Trump reminded everyone that he's the real peacemaker in the room, perhaps the most peace-obsessed president America has ever seen. But what about the UN?
It's too bad that I had to do these things instead of the United Nations doing them. And sadly, in all cases, the United Nations did not even try to help in any of them. I ended 7 wars, dealt with the leaders of each and every one of these countries, and never even received a phone call from the United Nations offering to help in finalizing the deal.
This was the tough love that the UN needed to hear.
What is the purpose of the United Nations? The UN has such tremendous potential, but it's not even coming close to living up to that potential. For the most part, at least for now, all they seem to do is write a really strongly worded letter and then never follow that letter up. It's empty words, and empty words don't solve war.
But what about all the media outlets and the Democrat hacks who've spent years painting Trump as Putin's puppet? But who's really been bailing out Putin in Ukraine?
China and India are the primary funders of the ongoing war by continuing to purchase Russian oil. But inexcusably, even NATO countries have not cut off much Russian energy and Russian energy products, which, as you know, I found out about 2 weeks ago, and I wasn't happy.
Well, he's 100% correct. The Angle's been talking about this for years, literally years. China is the big dog here, and India's second. If both of those countries weren't buying Russian oil and Russian ag, Russia would have folded in Ukraine long ago. That is the truth. And Trump also made an appeal to the Russian people themselves. It was very smart. This speech was a masterstroke, but the cerebrally challenged over at CNN, I don't think they have the capacity to see how pivotal it was.
This was not a normal UN speech. We could say that with confidence. It read and sounded more like a MAGA stump speech than a speech to the assembled world. He attacked the UN itself. He took credit for great reductions in migration into this country, and then he said to U.S. allies in Europe, your countries are going to hell. He attacked not just renewable energy, but climate science. He said, listen, I'm always right.
And the pylon continued all day long because on MSNBC, to those characters, which covered for Biden and lied about Russia collusion for years, they think telling the truth is mean.
I am not surprised the president did what he did. What I am surprised by is that the nations, the leaders of the world, still show up to listen to what he has to say. And I wonder now if they show up because it's the sort of the global equivalent of going to a stand-up comedy show.
Yeah, stand-up comedy show? Oh, really? Because last time I checked, all these countries that were forced to listen to Trump, they're not laughing when they burn up the White House phone lines to literally beg for trade deals. Well, you heard Trump's truth. Now here's the Angle's truth. The UN becomes more irrelevant every day because it cares more about bashing the United States than it does about building a better world. But President Trump has made it clear he's willing to work with the UN. Heck, he's willing to work with anyone to create more peace and prosperity for all. But the rest of the world has to understand that Americans will no longer be treated as fools or as suckers. That era is over. America is on the rise. The rest of the world can either work with us or be left behind. And that's the Angle.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.